Farmer Boy. Breaking the calves. Almanzo had been so busy filling the ice house that he had no time to give the calves another lesson. So on Monday morning he said, "Father, I can't go to school today, can I? If I don't work those calves, they will forget how to act." Father tugged his beard and twinkled his eyes. "Seems as though a boy might forget his lesson, too," he said. Almanzo had not thought of that. He thought a minute and said, "Well, I have had more lessons than the calves, and besides, they are younger than I be." Father looked solemn, but his beard had a smile under it, and Mother exclaimed, "Oh, let the boy stay home if he wants. It won't hurt him for once in a way. And he's right, the calves do need breaking." So Almanzo went to the barn and called the little calves out into the frosty air. He fitted the little yoke over their necks, and he held up the bows and put the bow pins in, and tied a rope around Star's small nubs of horns. He did this all by himself. All that morning he backed little by little around the barnyard, shouting, "Get up!" and then, "Whoa!" Star and Bright came eagerly when he yelled, "Get up!" and they stopped when he said, "Whoa!" and licked up the pieces of carrot from his woolly mittens. Now and then he ate a piece of raw carrot himself. The outside part is best. It comes off in a thick, solid ring, and it is sweet. The inside part is juicier and clear like yellow ice, but it has a thin, sharp taste. At noon, Father said the calves had been worked enough for one day, and that everyone he would show Almanzo how to make a whip. They went into the woods, and Father cut some moosewood boughs. Almanzo carried them up to Father's workroom over the woodshed, and Father showed him how to peel off the bark in strips, and then how to braid a whiplash. First, he tied the ends of 5 strips together, and then he braided them in a round, solid braid. All that afternoon he sat beside Father's bench. Father shaved shingles, and Almanzo carefully braided his whip, just as Father braided the big black snake whip of leather. While he turned and twisted the strips, the thin outer bark fell off in flakes, leaving the soft, white inside bark. The whip would have been white, except that Almanzo's hands left a few smudges. He could not finish it before chore time, and the next day he had to go to school. But he braided his whip every evening by the heater till the lash was 5 feet long. Then Father lent him his jackknife, and Almanzo whittled a wooden handle, and bound the lash to it with strips of moosewood bark. The whip was done. It would be perfectly good whip until dried brittle in the hot sun. Almanzo could crack it almost as loudly as Father cracked a black snake whip, and he did not finish it a minute too soon, for already he needed it to give the calves their next lesson. Now he had to teach them to turn to the left when he shouted, "Ha!" and to turn to the right when he shouted, "Gee!" As soon as the whip was ready, he began. Every Saturday morning he spent in the barnyard teaching Star and Bright. He never whipped them. He only cracked the whip. He knew you could never teach an animal anything if you struck it, or even shouted at it angrily. He must always be gentle and quiet and patient, even when they made mistakes. Star and Bright must like him and trust him, and know he would never hurt them, for if they were once afraid of him, they would never be good, willing, hard-working oxen. Now they always obeyed him when he shouted, "Get up!" and "Whoa!" So he did not stand in front of them any longer. He stood at Star's left side. Star was next to him, so Star was the nigh oxen. Bright was on the other side of Star, so Bright was the off oxen. Almanzo shouted, "Gee!" and cracked the whip with all his might, close beside Star's head. Star dodged to get away from it, and that turned both calves to the right. Then Almanzo said, "Get up," and let them walk a little way, quietly. Then he made the whiplash curl in the air and crack loudly on the other side of Bright. And with the whip he yelled, "Ha!" Bright swerved away from the whip, and that turned both calves to the left. Sometimes they jumped and started to run. Then Almanzo said, "Whoa," in a deep, solemn voice like Father's. And if they didn't stop, he ran in after them and headed them off. When that happened, he had to make them practice "Get up" and "Whoa" again for a long time. He had to be very patient. One very cold Saturday morning, when the calves were feeling frisky, they ran away one first time. He cracked the whip. They kicked up their heels and ran bawling around the barnyard, and when he tried to stop them, they ran right over him, tumbling him into the snow. They kept right on running because they liked to run. He could hardly do anything with them that morning, and he was so mad that he shook all over, and tears ran down his cheeks. He wanted to yell at those mean calves and kick them and hit them over the head with the butt of his whip, but he didn't. He put up the whip and tied the rope again to Star's horns, and he made them go twice around the barnyard, starting when he said, "Get up," and stopping when he said, "Whoa." Afterward, he told Father about it because he thought anyone who was as patient as that with calves was patient enough to be allowed at least to curry-comb the colts. But Father didn't seem to think of that. All he said was, "That's right, son. Slow and patient does it. Keep on that way, and you'll have a good yoke of oxen yet."